Previously on Innocence Uncovered. Halloween night, 2001. Kent Heitholt, a beloved sports editor, was found brutally murdered in a parking lot. 2 years passed, no arrests. Then, a sudden confession from a troubled teen, Chuck Erickson. He claimed he and his friend Ryan Ferguson were the killers, but Chuck's memories were hazy and ever-changing. There was no physical evidence, no DNA, no motive. And yet, Ryan was arrested and put on trial for murder. This is where the justice system began to unravel.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, evidence will show that Ryan Ferguson brutally murdered Kent Heitholt.
Evidence. That's what trials are supposed to be about. Facts, proof, truth. But what happens when there is no evidence? When the entire case is built on lies, manipulation, and prosecutorial misconduct? What happens when the system cares more about winning than truth? Welcome back to Innocence Uncovered, where we expose the truth the system tried to bury. I'm Isaac. Today we're going inside the courtroom where justice died, and an innocent man was convicted of murder. This is the trial that ignored truth. February 2005. 4 years after Kent's murder. Boone County Courthouse, Columbia, Missouri. Prosecutor Kevin Crane stood before the jury with absolute confidence. He had a story to sell, a case to win. The only problem? His case was built on quicksand. No DNA linking Ryan to the scene. No fingerprints, no murder weapon, no blood evidence, no eyewitnesses to the crime. What Crane did have was Chuck Erickson. And Chuck was ready to perform. In exchange for his testimony, Chuck got a plea deal. 25 years instead of life. A bargain for selling out his innocent friend.
We were at By George Bar. We left around 1 a.m. Ryan said we should rob someone for money.
Chuck told his rehearsed story. The same one police had fed him during hours of interrogation. The same one that had changed dozens of times. But the jury didn't hear about those changes. They didn't know about the coaching, the leading questions, the way detectives had planted every detail. The defense never saw transcripts showing Chuck's confusion. I don't remember anything. Maybe it was a dream. I don't know what happened. All hidden, all suppressed, all illegal. The prosecution's second witness, Jerry Trump, the janitor who claimed he saw 2 men that night. Trump pointed at Ryan in court. That's him. That's one of the men I saw. Dramatic, convincing, and completely fabricated. What the jury didn't know, Trump's original statement to police was, "I saw nothing. Nobody was there." But after 2 years of pressure, after being shown Ryan's photo repeatedly, after being told, "This is the guy who did it," Trump's memory had mysteriously improved. Then came the forensic evidence, a bloody footprint at the crime scene. Surely this would seal the case.
This footprint was made by a size 11 shoe.
Ryan Ferguson wore size 9 shoes. The footprint didn't match. Did this exonerate him? Did this give the jury pause? Number. They simply ignored it. Physical evidence that proved Ryan's innocence was treated as an inconvenience, a detail to overlook. This was the prosecution's entire case, a coerced confession from a drug-addicted friend, a janitor coached to lie physical evidence that actually proved innocence, and somehow, it was working. How do you defend against evidence that doesn't exist? How do you prove a negative when you don't know what actually happened? Ryan's defense team faced an impossible task. They had witnesses who remembered seeing Ryan elsewhere that night, friends who could account for his time. But memory is fragile. After 4 years, details blur, times shift. The prosecution painted these witnesses as confused, mistaken, or lying to protect their friend.
Mr. Erickson, how many times did your story change during police interviews?
I don't remember exactly.
Would it surprise you to know it was over
Objection.
15 times?
The defense tried to expose Chuck's lies, the inconsistencies, the coaching, the plea deal that bought his testimony. But once a jury hears Ryan Ferguson killed Kent Heithold, everything else sounds like excuses. Ryan himself was trapped. What could he say? I didn't do it? True, but sounds like what every guilty person says. I wasn't there? True, but impossible to prove. I don't know who killed Kent? True, but unhelpful. In a system that demands answers, I don't know sounds like evasion, even when it's the most honest statement in the entire trial. The defense had another crushing disadvantage. They couldn't present evidence they didn't know existed. They didn't know Trump originally said he saw nothing. They didn't know about witness statements contradicting the timeline. They didn't know about evidence pointing to other suspects. The prosecution had buried it all. This is called prosecutorial misconduct. It's supposed to be illegal. But if nobody knows about it, how can anyone stop it? After 5 days of testimony, the jury deliberated for just 3 hours. 3 hours to decide a man's entire life. Less time than most people spend in a morning meeting. When they returned, Ryan's fate was sealed.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Ryan Ferguson, guilty of murder in the 2nd degree and robbery in the 1st degree.
Guilty. No physical evidence. No credible witnesses. No logical motive. But guilty nonetheless. Ryan's family watched in horror as their innocent son was branded a murderer. His father, Bill Ferguson, felt the world collapse around him.
Mr. Ferguson, you are sentenced to 40 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections.
40 years. Ryan was 20 years old. 40 years meant no 20s, no 30s, no 40s, no life for a crime he didn't commit. As they led Ryan away in chains, he looked back at his family one last time. His father's face burned with rage, not just sadness, fury. The kind of anger that comes from watching injustice triumph and being powerless to stop it. But Bill Ferguson wasn't powerless. He just didn't know it yet. That night, Ryan Ferguson became prisoner number 179276. 20 years old, convicted murderer, 40-year sentence, completely innocent. The system had worked exactly as designed. Case closed. Conviction secured. Statistics improved. The fact that they'd destroyed an innocent man's life, that was just acceptable loss. Ryan Ferguson was about to discover that proving your innocence from inside a prison cell is nearly impossible. But his father refused to give up. And what Bill Ferguson discovered would expose a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of the justice system. Next episode, 10 Years in Hell. How do you survive when the world believes you're a killer? What happens when new evidence emerges? And why did it take 10 years for the truth to matter? This is Innocence Uncovered. If this story pisses you off, good. Share it, subscribe, and comment. Help us expose the truth. Because Ryan Ferguson's story isn't unique. It's just one of thousands. And the next innocent person convicted could be someone you love. See you next time.